Hey, good morning, everybody, and welcome to the August 25th, 2026 Board of Supervisors meeting. If you could please stand for the pledge.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. Please join me in the pledge to the flag of our country. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
First up, we have staff announcement.
Sorry.
Oh, right, sorry, yes, closed session. I apologize. The clerk will read our closed session. We had 2 items from the last meeting and 1 this morning. Go ahead.
Thank you. Closed session for on August 11th. Item 1, pursuant to Government Code 54956.9D1, conference with legal counsel, re-existing litigation, California Sports Fishing Protection Alliance versus Eastern San Joaquin Groundwater Subbasin Sustainability Plan et al., Stanislaus County Superior Court Case Number CV 20001720. Board action, no reportable action taken. Item 2, pursuant to Government Code 54957A, consultation with Calaveras County Information Technology Security personnel regarding matters posing a threat to the security of public buildings, essential public services, the public's right of access to public services or facilities, or a threat to critical infrastructure controls or critical infrastructure information relating to cybersecurity. Board action, no reportable action taken. Closed session for today, August 25th. Item 1, pursuant to Government Code 54957.6, conference with county designated labor negotiators Teresa Hitchcock, Judy Hawkins, and Shay Johnson regarding the following employee organizations: Calaveras County Public Safety Employees Association, Deputy Sheriff's Association, Service Employees International Union Local 1021, Sheriff's Management Unit. Board action, no reportable action taken.
Okay. Now we'll move on to staff announcements. Do we have any staff? Oh. Good morning.
Good morning.
Oh, so sorry, 1 second.
Come on, buddy.
So meet Link. This handsome 1-year-old Belgian Malinois German Shepherd mix weighs approximately 40 pounds and is officially ready for his forever home. Sadly, Link has had a rough start as he was found abandoned in a crate without food or water. Thanks to the dedicated love and care of our staff and volunteers, he has transformed from a fragile, thin pup into a stunning, resilient companion. Despite his past, his sweet nature never wavered, and Link gets along well with all dogs and humans he has met. Link is highly intelligent, incredibly affectionate, and loves making new friends. He gets along beautifully with every dog he meets. Because of his breeds, he will thrive best in an active household where he can get plenty of mental and physical attention and stimulation. We aren't sure how he feels about cats yet, but he is bound to make it an incredible family addition. If you are interested in Link, a meet and greet is required if you have other dogs in your home. Please contact us at 209-754-6509 if you are interested. Are there any questions?
Martin?
I just wanted to say thank you. I convinced a friend of mine this past week to come down and meet Theo because I thought that was the perfect match for her. And she didn't actually bond with Theo, but then she got Peggy, which has been a love match ever since. Yes. And then I heard that a couple drove all the way from Monterey to pick up Theo. So it was a very successful day on Friday. So awesome. And everybody has mentioned how wonderful the staff is, and especially you, Shauna, how great you are. And just wanted to say thank you.
Thank you.
Amen. Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning, Board, Assistant Chair, Council, Assistant CEO, and Madam Clerk. I'm Tim Sturm. I'm a captain with the Sheriff's Office, OES. With me is Sergeant Cole Waite, also with Sheriff's Department, and he's the lead on OES. We just want to take a few minutes to provide a brief update on the GAN fire recovery efforts. Today, it has been just short of 2 weeks since the full containment of that fire. OES within the Sheriff's Department has been full-time charged with recovery efforts. The initial damage estimate has been submitted to the State of California OES as required for the disaster proclamation process. The total structural loss value is just over $7 million, and the Calaveras County cost is over $300,000. That $300,000 is comprised of public expenses, overtime fuel, expenses associated with activities directly during the fire. The mutual aid that responded from other law enforcement agencies, that one, they will be reimbursed to their agency directly from the State of California. However, OES locally does administer the claim. In other words, we submit the paperwork for that agency and they receive direct payment. The GAN fire represented the first full rollout of the countywide OES finance team. The finance team is built from members of county administration, auditor, airport, HHSA, and the Sheriff's Department. And I do believe that it was successful and that expenses were tracked appropriately, which is paving the way smoothly for the reimbursement. There was an FMAG, which was applied for during the fire and received. What that means to the county is that about a week from today, a little under a week from today, we will have a meeting with representatives from the State of California to discuss the FMAG, and we will learn the process to submit all those claims. It's about a 4-month turnaround before everything is due. I did want to note that the FMAG, as you all know, is federal funding. The State of California disaster proclamation was approved, but the financial end of it is still pending. So we are waiting to see if the State of California will pick up the balance of what the FMAG would not. There is a specific breakdown. FMAG 75%, leaving 25% of that 25. If we receive state funding, 75% of that would be paid by the state, leaving the county of Calaveras with somewhere around 6%. Before I move over to Sergeant Waite to discuss debris removal recovery, I did want to note that the EOC has been activated twice since the GAN fire, and that was for the Loma fire and the Ross fire. Both of those fires required the opening of shelters and evacuations. Fortunately, they were contained same day. I'll turn it over to Sergeant Waite to discuss debris removal.
Good morning, Board. Sergeant Waite, our current in status of the State of California, the county is continuously working through the recovery phase following the GAN fire. We're still in preliminary discussions with the state and OES regarding debris removal and the appropriate recovery processes at this point. It is important to emphasize that the requests have been submitted and we're working with Cal OES to determine eligibility, scope, funding, and implementation of that. Our objective is to make sure that the county is positioned to move quickly once the state provides direction and approval. Debris removal phase 1 encompasses household hazardous waste material. This can include materials such as propane tanks, batteries, pesticides, paints, solvents, fuels, and other hazardous material on the properties. The purpose is to identify and remove these materials early because they can pose immediate risk to public health, worker safety, and the environment. Phase 2 of that plan is addressing the remaining fire-related debris, including materials from destroyed or severely damaged structures. This would be like the asbestos that's located in the foundation of homes and whatnot. This is obviously a larger scale debris operation that can involve ash, concrete, metal, contaminated soil, and construction and demolition debris. The state's process generally involves coordination between Cal OES, FEMA, local government, and debris management teams. Again, we are currently in coordination and preliminary discussions at this point. We also want to make sure that the county understands the requirements and is prepared to proceed as soon as the state determines the appropriate path forward. Next is the watershed protection. This is particularly important following wildfire. We're obviously going to be transitioning into winter soon. With rain, it causes runoff issues and concerns. Our goal is to keep the contaminants and ash and sediment and debris from entering our creeks, rivers, drainage systems, and our waterways. This is not simply an environmental issue. This is not a simple environmental issue. This is also about protecting our roads, culverts, bridges, drainage infrastructure, private property, and downstream communities as well. Finally, we've also requested technical assistance from the state. It's important because the county is dealing with a complex recovery operation that involves environmental requirements, debris management, funding eligibility, permitting, contracting, and coordination among multiple agencies. We're asking the state to provide the appropriate subject matter expertise so that we can design the recovery work correctly and accomplish it the correct way the first time, and document it properly and maximize our potential for reimbursement as well. The important message today is that the county is actively moving forward. These discussions are ongoing. Our priority is to protect our residents, natural resources, clear hazardous fire debris quickly and safely, and ensure that the county maintains access to state and federal assistance. We will continue to keep the board informed as well as the citizens as these discussions develop.
Thank you, Board. Are there any questions?
Gay?
Yeah, I do. Do you have any estimate how long it's going to take to clean the area up?
At this point now.
Okay, we have winter coming on and rains. That's going to be a major part of this, making sure we get all the toxins out of there before that runoff starts going into our lakes and rivers and so forth, streams. So, yeah, please keep us aware of what's going on if you can.
Absolutely.
Supervisor Tofinelli, just this morning, we received a new document, which was an assessment of the potential for slippage of the ground in that area. So that is being actively assessed for the amount of rainfall that it would take for that to occur. And Cole will work for the proper mitigation measures on that.
Yeah. Unfortunately, it's all hills and mountains it's not all flat, so the runoff's gonna run right down with nothing there to prevent it. You know, with vegetation or trees or whatever, it's just solid runoff.
Yes, sir.
That's a lot of it, so if you could keep us aware of it, I appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Will do.
Any other questions?
I want to say
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Captain. Thank you, Sergeant.
Okay, thank you.
Hello, Michael Martin, your Public Works Director, just with a quick announcement. As part of our Keep Calaveras Clean Community Cleanup Program, we want to announce that there's a park cleanup event this August 29th from 9 a.m. to 10:30 a.m. at Nielsen Park here in San Andreas. We'd like to invite anybody from the public who is interested in participating in that, who would like to help beautify the park and keep it clean. Public Works will be providing all the tools and materials necessary to do the cleanup. We just ask for folks to show up and be ready to work. And we'll be taking care of all the other necessities that'll be needed to do that project. Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, 9 a.m. to 10:30 a.m.
And that's at what park?
Nielsen Park. Yeah.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning, everybody. A quick announcement. In the aftermath of last board meeting, I've had the chance to meet with several of our districts, including board members from their districts, and listen to some of the comments on the data that came through and was, pivotal in the board presentation that Denise put on. And in that, I kind of focused in on a couple of issues that I see in my own processes. You'll know that as in preparing and having oversight of the county budget, my staff does a lot of work. The CEO's office puts a bunch of their time, that we have all of these resources going toward that. But with special districts, the CEO's office doesn't have any role in that. It's all through my office, and our processes are what they have been for, a number of years. So the main complaints that I heard were basically a lack of communication in what is needed for the budget preparation. One of the districts saying that they followed my instructions exactly, and they feel like the numbers that were presented were still not reflective of what their budget shows. Another one is the reserve balances. In county funds, we spend a lot of time making sure that we understand what those are, if they're restricted, committed, earmarked, or in other ways out of discretionary status. But that level of reserve reporting, we don't have a responsibility over those special districts, so we've never required them to provide us that information. So these are a couple of the things, and it's really due to, how can we make that process better? How can we work more closely with the special districts? This is the part where it's going to sound like I'm making excuses, and I really don't mean it that way. But there are challenges when looking at our processes, looking at how to make them better, because my mentality is, if you see an issue, you see a way to make it better, you do that. Here are my challenges. Our special districts, we currently have over 30 special districts, each with their own governing body. We would need to coordinate with all of them in order to change these processes in a meaningful way. Will they see that change, the recommendations that I want to make, will they see it as a help to their district, or will they see it as me trying to overstep the limits of authority? I don't want it to come across that way. We would need to see if we expand services we're providing to the special districts, am I opening the county up to any additional liability or risk? I would need to look at whether my office can absorb more work. You guys remember in the budget cuts, the hardship, I lost one of my staff members, limiting the capacity of what I can take on. And then the last step would be to make sure that you, as the board, is that how you want my office being used? We're county resources, you guys direct whether this would be a priority after, when we get to that step down there. My announcement today is that I am taking the comments that I've received from the community and from the special districts seriously. I will be looking into this. I will be bringing back what I would recommend changes to these processes for comment and approval. And so at this point, that is my announcement. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other staff comments or announcements? Okay, seeing none, we will move on to recognitions and acknowledgement. And I will turn it over to the clerk to read out.
Item 2, proclamation. Clerk of the Board of Supervisors adopt a proclamation recognizing August 2026 as Child Support Awareness Month in Calaveras County.
And I turn it over to Supervisor Toffenelli.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This recognition is for a committee that both Autumn and I are on, and I've been on it for, a long time. So what I propose to do is I will read the first half of it, and Autumn, I will pass it on to you for the second half, okay? And then we'll get to the point where we're done reading the whereases, and then we'll give you an opportunity to speak.
Thank you.
Okay, and then the public comments. So this is a proclamation recognizing August 2026 as Child Support Awareness Month in Calaveras County. Whereas the vision of the Central Sierra Child Support Agency is partnering with families to create self-sufficiency, and whereas the professional staff of the Central Sierra Child Support Agency work diligently to fulfill this vision by partnering with families involved in more than 4,200 cases and collecting over $11 million in support last federal fiscal year. Whereas the Central Sierra Child Support Agency declares its commitment to having a meaningful impact on the families it serves, and whereas the Central Sierra Child Support Agency is engaged in educating its customers regarding their cases and the community regarding the services it provides. And whereas the Central Sierra Child Support Agency affirms the important role it plays in partnering with parents to support the well-being of children. And
whereas the Central Sierra Child Support Agency encourages parents to be accountable for their children, providing them many opportunities to succeed. And whereas Child Support Awareness Month recognizes and acknowledges parents who work diligently to support their children to provide both emotional and financial stability, thus having a positive impact on their children. And whereas the Central Sierra Child Support Agency thanks its partner agencies and recognizes its child support professionals who strive to continuously improve their customer service and make a difference in the lives of the children in our community. It has been an honor to serve on this community. I'll turn it over to you, Kim, if you have some words.
Yes, thank you, members of the board. My name is Kim Britt, and I'm the Executive Director of Central Sierra Child Support Agency. And with me today, we have Daniel Padilla, who is our Deputy Director, and Lisa Bispham, who is our Staff Services Specialist. We appreciate the opportunity to speak with you today as we request that the board proclaim August as Child Support Awareness Month. I appreciate also being able to share not just what our agency does, but how the work that we do every day strengthens families who form the heart of Calaveras County. A special thank you to Supervisors Tuffanelli and Endall for their service on CSCSA's Board of Directors, and to Supervisor Tuffanelli for his role as Vice Chair. We appreciate their continued support and their contributions to the leadership of our organization. Child support can sometimes be misunderstood. People can often assume that opening a child support case means that a parent is unwilling to support their child, but that is not the reality for many families. Parents open cases for many reasons: to create clarity, to ensure that their children have access to medical support, to establish legal parentage, or to have a reliable system for both making and sending payments. Sometimes it's simply a way to reduce stress and avoid conflict between parents. So opening a child support case is often a responsible, proactive step, not a sign of reluctance to support a child. Our agency is unique in California. Unlike most child support departments that operate under a single county umbrella, the Central Sierra Child Support Agency is a joint powers authority. We provide services to families in Calaveras, Alpine, Amador, and Tuolumne counties. And across these communities, we currently serve about 4,200 families and around 10,000 children. We are fully state and federally funded, meaning our services do not draw from Calaveras County General Fund. Every dollar spent on helping families comes from a designated funding that supports child well-being and family stability. Our entire agency consists of 24 dedicated employees whose work goes far beyond collecting and distributing child support, though they do that exceptionally, returning more than $11 million to families each year. They also assist parents in navigating the court process, obtaining orders, filing necessary documents, securing medical support, and establishing parentage at low or no cost to the families. Every day, they help parents move from uncertainty to stability. Nationwide, child support helps lift approximately 1 in 3 children in single-parent households out of poverty. Here in Calaveras County, we currently assist 1,285 families. In the last federal fiscal year, we distributed $3.2 million in child support, all of which went to the families here in Calaveras. Child Support Awareness Month gives us the opportunity to highlight the impact and reduce the stigma around child support services. It helps the community understand that child support is not about punishment, it's about partnership. It's about helping children grow up healthy and secure and ensuring that families have access to services that strengthen their future. CSCSA takes care of the financial aspect and allows parents to focus on co-parenting successfully. This year, we'll be out in the community speaking with families about the importance of establishing legal parentage, particularly for children who were born outside of a marriage. When parentage is not legally established, Children may miss out on important benefits such as medical coverage, inheritance rights, or Social Security benefits. Establishing parentage also ensures that both parents can play a meaningful and recognized role in a child's life. Much of this can be accomplished through a simple voluntary declaration of parentage, and our staff are here to help families navigate that process, whether the parents live together or apart. By proclaiming August as Child Support Awareness Month, Calaveras County affirms the value of supporting local families, helping children thrive, and recognizing the important work done every day by the staff of Central Sierra Child Support Agency. I thank you for your time and your ongoing commitment to Calaveras County families, and I am available to answer any questions that you may have.
Thank you, Kim.
Thank you.
Public comment? Yeah.
Is there any public comment about this item?
Amazing.
Yes.
Marty Crane, I just want to say thank you. So if not you, then who?
Thank you very much.
I need your card. I'm a rep for Toys for Tots in Calaveras County, and I would like to help out if I can. Any way we can, okay? We'd love to get toys and bikes and stuff, so we'd like to help. Thank you.
Thank you. Stacy, is there anybody online for this?
Just a reminder to online participants, please raise your hand if you wish to make a public comment. We have no online public comment.
And we'll bring it back to the board.
I will move this item.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Am I closing it up?
You're closing it up.
Okay. Now therefore be it proclaimed, the Board of Supervisors, County of Calaveras, State of California, does hereby designate the month of August 2026 to be declared Child Support Awareness Month in Calaveras County, and applauds the Central Sierra Child Support Agency for its continued service to the families throughout our community.
Thank you very much.
Ready? 1, 2, 3. Thank you.
Okay, next on the agenda is our favorite time of the day. We will be going into general public comment. I will let the clerk read out.
Any
Okay.
item of interest to the public that is within the subject matter jurisdiction of the board and is not posted on the consent or regular agendas may be addressed during the public comment period. California law prohibits the board from taking action on any matter which is not posted on the agenda, unless it is determined to be an emergency by the Board of Supervisors. If public comment is completed before the 30-minute allotted time period, the board may immediately move to the next order of business. If public comment is not completed during the allotted time period, it will be continued as the last item of business in order to provide an opportunity for the remainder of comments to be heard.
Thank you, clerk. So as a reminder, please watch the light. The moment it turns red, your minutes are up. I will be starting with online public comment first. Clerk?
Again, if there's online public comment, general public comment, items that are not on the consent or regular agenda, please raise your hand. We have no online general public
Okay,
comment.
thank you. I'll move public comment into the room. As a courtesy for everyone behind the next person, if you're saying the same thing, please allow the next person to have, if you agree, just if you are willing, state that, because we've only got 30 minutes, and I will be paying attention to the clerk, and after 30 minutes, I will stop it according to the agenda. And any other further public comment will continue after the regular agenda per the posted agenda for today. So, good morning.
Good morning. My name is Julia Marcelli, and I'm the board chair of the West Point Fire Protection District. I speak on behalf of West Point Fire when I say that we were disappointed in the way that we were presented at the August 11th Board of Supervisors meeting. I'm here today to correct the record on 3 key points from that meeting. First, it was presented that West Point Fire left out revenue on our preliminary budget reports to the county. I want to share that the county's preliminary budgeting instructions direct fire districts to exclude estimated tax revenue and LAFCO contributions from the reports. As it turns out, West Point Fire simply followed the county's own reporting instructions, and we have a copy of those instructions for anyone who is interested. Second, to the county's point that fire districts have, and I quote, chronically underestimated their revenue, we maintain that we should not fund permanent recurring obligations with revenue that depends upon the misfortune of others, such as strike teams. This revenue fluctuates drastically each year and is never an absolute. For example, this year, West Point Fire will lose out on significant strike team revenue as our firefighters are busy undergoing intensive advanced EMT training to better serve the needs of our community. This isn't irresponsible underreporting, it's simply financial best practice 101. Third, I want to address what the county referred to as the fire district's financial cushion. West Point specifically shows a $1.6 million reserve fund balance. We have approximately $600,000 in emergency savings to keep the lights on, and the remaining money in our reserve fund is allocated to our district's much-needed fire station remodel and equipment repairs and replacement. For context, our firefighters currently stay in twin-size bunk beds within our station's only meeting room and must navigate constant daily intrusion into their living space. These reserve funds will allow us to build appropriate living quarters at the station. Also, one of our fire engines recently itself caught on fire, and we estimate replacement costs to be in the ballpark of $1 million+. To be clear, these funds are not a cushion. Accumulating resources over multiple years is what allows a district to address major irregular capital costs without jeopardizing ongoing operations. Again, this is simply a budgeting best practice. What we hope for in the future is that instead of sharing information publicly based on inaccuracies and a clear lack of understanding of daily district operations, the county will initiate open conversations with our fire districts, giving us all a seat at the table so that your constituents have the opportunity to hear and understand the nuance behind the numbers. At West Point Fire, we are an open book. We encourage all of you to visit, ask questions, look at our financials, and gain a clear understanding of what it takes to operate our small community's only 24/7 emergency response lifeline. Thank you.
Good morning, Peggy Flynn, District 2. I'm speaking today about protecting the purpose Calaveras voters approved when they passed Measure A, Stronger Local Fire Protection. Measure A created a 1% local sales tax and requires that its proceeds be placed in a separate Calaveras local fire protection account. The money is restricted for local fire agencies, for staffing, training, equipment, facilities, and most importantly, for improving emergency response capability. The ordinance calls for local agencies to improve the speed of response and the quantity and quality of personnel available in an emergency. But there is a significant protection missing from Measure A. It does not contain an express non-supplantation or maintenance of effort clause. Such a clause would say plainly that Measure A funds must supplement fire protection, not become an excuse for the county to reduce its own historic discretionary funding for local fire agencies. That distinction matters. Measure A's money is legally restricted. The board cannot redirect it to unrelated purposes, yet the board has reduced fire district support through changes to TOT and other discretionary funding reportedly without meaningful collaboration with or advance notice to the fire chiefs. The result is that local districts are asked to use the new voter-approved fire revenue to absorb losses and other support rather than using it to make the improvements voters expected. Measure A does not expressly prohibit the county's separate budget choices, but that is a loophole. The board should close it. Other California counties, including Sonoma, adopted fire funding measures that expressly prohibit the new tax revenue from supplanting historic local fire support. Calaveras can do the same. Measure A's own amendment section allows the board to amend the ordinance without another election so long as it does not change the tax rate, expand allowable spending, or undermine the measure's purposes. A non-supplantation clause would do none of those things. It would protect the purpose voters approved. There is also an approaching deadline. Measure A requires a county-wide election in 2028 to reauthorize the appropriations limit increase that enables the fire districts in Angels Camp to continue spending Measure A revenues. That election is not optional if Measure A is to continue functioning as intended. The board has time, about 18 months, to act responsibly, meet with fire chiefs and district boards, establish a transparent historic funding baseline, provide public reporting, and adopt a clear rule that Measure A supplements rather than replaces county fire support. If this board will not act, the voters can. A voter initiative can add that protection, and the 2028 GAN limit election provides an obvious opportunity to put those issues directly before the people. This is notice. The public understands the difference between funding fire protection and shifting costs onto fire districts. We will protect our local fire agencies, our volunteers, our families, and our communities. And when each supervisor's seat is up before the voters, we will remember who acted to protect fire funding and who did not. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning. I am Cheryl McEwen Harper, West Pointer and Wilsey Villain. Many of us have noticed that our fire districts were not allowed to participate in the same 10% budget cut county departments were offered because they're not a county department. Fire districts would have coordinated and cooperated with those cuts. We also noticed that historical allocations of TOT funds are now just randomly general fund amounts subject to the board's discretion. The original quarter allocation is now just void because you say so. That's not what we voted for. Fire finally said, take our TOT, but please leave us our 172 funds. They should not have to compromise or beg for their funding. Measure A is not a substitute for TOT county funds, and this board should have known that before acting. It was clear you had no idea what the restrictions on Measure A funds were before you stripped TOT. Knowing this is literally your job. The county has not only overlooked the required conversation with the districts, but has subsequently asked a county employee to put together a budget report delivered with obvious disdain that seemed to designed to undermine the credibility of our fire district's financial reporting and budgeting skills. As a member of the public, I asked my department why they were accused of not reporting revenue. The West Point Fire Board was very happy to have me at the meeting to hear about this agenda item, as they had planned to discuss it anyway, and they were very happy to answer my questions. The county is not only disrespecting longstanding relationships and changing historical commitments without discussing it, but appears to be attempting to undermine Fire's credibility. Fire has become proactive in their budgeting process, something the board could benefit from learning instead of playing victim and punishing those who are successfully and transparently serving the public. Getting Calaveras out of a reactive position and into a revenue-generating proactive position would solve this problem and more. Supposedly constantly saying no will not get you in trouble, but it will kill this county and it will get your replacement elected. The status quo must end. The Sheriff Department under Rick DiBasilio had several revenue-driven programs to help their budget. He always said, I will always get mine, and I'm happy to share some of our TOT with Fire. Where's that attitude now? Are these programs still in place to help the Sheriff's Department? The current, as long as we get ours attitude is glaring and heartbreaking. Honestly, I'm glad I didn't get elected so I could speak on behalf of the public. It doesn't appear you're able to from your position, and yet it is why you are elected. Fire district always remembers their job is to serve. I think this board has forgotten that is your purpose also, and your first responsibility is the safety to the public. You can start by listening. You work for us.
Thank you.
Good morning. My name's Bonnie Newman. I'm from Double Springs. Double Springs isn't just a road, it's also a community. It's a community that had the progressive foresight, pioneer spirit to create the first county seat. In fact, you yahoos may not be here if it weren't for Double Springs back 150 years ago. Maybe you would be, but we like to take a little credit for something. When everything settled down, we were District 5. We were in Valley Springs. Pretty soon, after 1,000 years, they told us we were District 1. Then after a few thousand years, they told us we're District 2. We're kind of like a throwaway community. We feel kind of disenfranchised. No one really wants us, but everyone does when the numbers add up. Talk about being a throwaway community. I just got notice that something's going on in Double Springs. And as much as I've been here, 3 petitions to the board about various issues on Double Springs, no one had the courtesy to let us know that there's something going on in Double Springs that is horrifying. You're going to be putting something up there on the top of the hill that's going to impact everyone down below. We want to know what the real plan is because we're frightened. We know that there's been explosions in facilities that have those kinds of batteries. And we just want to know what the plan is and why we weren't notified beforehand, because now we feel cheated. We feel like you guys were, whoever is in charge of this, were being sneaky and slimy and untrustworthy. So if there's really something going on, we need to know the people that live there, because you haven't even solved the traffic problem. You know, we've got speeders down there. You said you were going to do something a few years ago. 2 weeks ago, there was a drag race down Double Springs Road, both sides of the highway. And it's not straight. It's crooked. Didn't matter. They're driving like bats out of hell. Help us.
Good morning. My name is Christopher Butner, publisher of CalaverasWatchdog.com. 2 weeks ago, during public comment, I expressed my concern about the Calaveras Visitors Bureau having accumulated year-end reserves exceeding $500,000 in unspent transient occupancy tax funds for each of the last 4 reported fiscal years. The public must know why the Calaveras County government continually gives away scarce transient occupancy tax dollars to the underperforming CVB, as the CVB repeatedly demonstrates it hoards the public's money at the expense of the county being able to adequately fund essential services such as fire protection districts. This amid recent proposed budget cuts to the county's fire protection districts in the wake of the Gann fire and as we approach the September anniversaries of the Butte and TCU 27 fires. The last public reporting of the CVB's year-end finances on IRS Form 990-2024 corresponds to the fiscal year ending June 30th, 2025, when the CVB held accumulated year-end net assets and fund balances of $518,000 derived from unspent transient occupancy tax allocations. I publicly requested of CEO Hitchcock to obtain the CVB's net assets and fund balance for fiscal year 25-26, ending June 30th, 2026. On September 8th, the Board of Supervisors conducts fiscal year 26-27 county recommended budget hearings, receives a presentation, and directs staff to return on September 22nd with the county budget resolutions, at which time the board votes on a resolution adopting the fiscal year 26-27 county budget. For the last several years, the CVB systematically accumulated and stockpiled TOT funds instead of deploying it for its intended purpose, the promotion of tourism, apparently restricting spending to insulate itself against future funding cuts, but in the process contributing to flat tourism revenue growth and economic stagnation. CEO CEO Hitchcock and members of the board before voting on September 22nd to approve any fiscal year 26-27 TOT funding for the CVB. You owe us an explanation for lax oversight of the CVB's hoarding of public funds from its annual TOT allocations occurring on your watch. You also owe us an explanation for continually providing the CVB with public funding it hoarded while misrepresenting its legal type as a public benefit nonprofit corporation on the July 2023 Agreement for Tourism Promotion, and why the county failed to correct the CVB's misrepresentation until June 2026, despite having been cautioned on August 2023 and repeatedly for 3 years. My name is Christopher Budner, publisher of CalaverasWatchdog.com. Shame on all of you.
Okay. Go ahead, sorry, please, go ahead.
Good morning, Chair and Supervisors. My name is Eileen Andress, and this is my husband, Guy. We lost our home in the Gown fire. Before I say anything else, I want to express how grateful we are. We're overwhelmed with gratitude for everyone who responded, our firefighters, the Sheriff's Department, and all first responders and county staff. The way this situation was handled kept people safe and helped us get immediate help when we needed it the most. Thank you. I'm here because my neighbors and I are overwhelmed and we don't know where to start. Most of us have never been through a fire. We're sad, we're trying to make good decisions, and we need clear information we can share across our community so we can move forward. Right now, we're hearing mixed messages. We're told cleanup needs to be coordinated with the county and partner agencies, but we as individuals don't have a clear removal plan, a timeline, or one person we can contact. As Gary mentioned, time matters. When rains come, ash and debris can wash into springs. We have a shed that burned that's only 30 feet from our spring, and if this washes into it, this will affect neighbors downstream, including wells and water. We're hoping that can be prevented. So here's what we need from the county. First, it would be helpful if you could name one lead person and one point of contact for GAN fire questions and updates. We would love one phone number, one email, so residents know where to go. A website with updates could also be helpful. Second, please tell us whether there will be a right of entry program, if that's coming when. If it's not coming, please confirm what we're allowed to do now with licensed contractors. Also, what is the FEMA status and timeline, and where can residents find the official info in writing? Third, please provide short written guidance we can follow right away. Basic steps to protect springs and wells while we wait for the full plan, as well as clarify whether there are emergency measures available right now to speed recovery, like expedited or waived permits, streamlined inspections, or fee relief, and where residents can find that information in writing. Also, some neighbors have heard from past fire victims that county coordinated cleanup can sometimes involve cost recovery that's pretty significant, especially if someone is uninsured or underinsured. Can you please clarify in plain language, if the county coordinates cleanup on private property, could residents be billed and under what circumstances? And please put that in writing so families can make informed decisions. Last, I'm requesting that you add a GAN Fire Next Steps item to the next board agenda so residents understand the path forward, who's responsible, and what the timeline is. And even though we lost our homes, we didn't lose our sense of community. We would greatly appreciate clear answers on measures we can take now so we can start rebuilding our lives. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. You can connect with them in the back. Wait, go ahead. Good morning.
Good morning. I was here a few months ago. My name is Rosellen Crames, and I'm here today in support of myself, my husband, and other residents on the Frico City School neighboring community. Tomorrow will be the 26th of August. That's exactly 3 months since the student burned down the administration building. Subsequently, the next day, another student stabbed themselves, and we really don't know why or how that happened, but it seems to be of concern on the Frico City School as to the type of students or the residents they keep. On days following the arson, the school hired a company with no county permits to dispose of all the toxic waste onto a property adjacent to our vineyard, our wells, our streams, and downhill the San Antonio Creek. They're high up on a hill, and everything's going to run down. They subsequently hired a construction crew to remove all of the debris into a 100-foot long, 10-foot high, 10-foot wide log of debris of compacted waste. Then this huge log was watered down with multiple tankers of water to wash the compacted toxic waste into the soil to compact this log, pushing anything of questionable dangerous waste into the soil below the log. We understand that they've been ordered a toxic test on this debris, but we are concerned that the testing has been done on the washed out version of the debris, and the underground soil is highly contaminated and not being tested because it's under the log. We understand that the preliminary test has not shown asbestos, but we're not sure what else has been found to date, and we don't know if the asbestos is on the washed out debris. Of course, you can pick and choose where you would test. And we are fearful that the testing being done has not been done by an independent and unbiased group, and that the testing is not done on the soil itself. There was a sign posted on the gate to this dump site by the county for the removal of the waste by July 29, 26. It's still there, nothing's happened. Rite of Passage School is operating under a 1995 use permit, 31 years old, that they apparently purchased from the previous organization, and to my knowledge has never been reviewed or adapted by this new owner. It appears that there are issues over the years that have violated this permit and are operating with indifference to the neighboring community, doing whatever they want without a slap on the hand. We are very concerned that our vineyard, pond, our streams, our wells adjacent to this pump site will be soonly affected by the expected El Nino, and we can't sit by here and do nothing for the last 3 months, and I think my time's up.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening.
Good morning, board. I miss my guy. Where is he? My name is Gina Gonzalez, and I'm a doer, not a complainer. I'm action. I don't just talk about it. So anybody who's here that has been affected by the Butte fire, come see me, please. We're doing a fundraiser for Calaveras for the GAN victims, and we are doing a fundraiser with three bands at a concert. It's free. We're asking for donations, but it's not mandatory. We would like to see businesses support us with raffle items that we can also sell tickets for and raise money for these victims. When the fire happened, I was evacuated too. And it kills me to see that. We all got to go home. When you go home and you open your door in your house, you get to go home. They don't. So I'm asking everybody in the county to please, please come to this and raise money to help these guys. If they have insurance or not, it doesn't matter. We're a community. We are Calaveras strong. Let's be strong. Let's help these guys. I've talked to OES, and the last count was 15 homes burned to the ground. I'm glad that wasn't my home. And I'm a doer, like I said. So come and support this, please. Ask me what you can do, not what you've done, what you can do. Answer the questions and do something for these people. I get to go home every day. These guys don't. They're living in hotels and in trailers. Let's help them get back to where they were before this fire. Thank you.
Good morning, board. My name's Dale Ellis. I have a property in the Gan fire on Joaquima. We lost our home, but a lot of homes weren't burned down, and that's something to be thankful for. I think Irene covered all my main points I would have wanted to add. So, and they're recorded, so please address them. The main point I'm concerned with is the one that you were concerned with, and that's the timeline. And you got to have something besides nothing. What's the plan? What are you shooting for? What are the other agencies saying? But the timeline, people need that to put everything else together. And it's complicated to put it all together. So people need to be patient. But the patience, be patient, and no timeline. They don't work well together, so something to think about. Other than that, I'm not really here to chew anybody out. Just thought I'd stand up, and not many of us here, so I'd add my voice to the numbers. Thanks.
We've got 6 more minutes till we hit the 30-minute mark, so that means we've got 2 more people.
Good morning. My name is Ross Thornton. We moved into Calaveras County from Pacific Grove in 1959. Beautiful county. Love it here. Can I hand these out to the supervisor?
Oh, sir, sorry.
Yeah?
No,
Oh, I'm sorry.
Sorry.
These are the headlines from 2007. Reform school, neighbors want reform. Still dealing with the same thing that Mrs. Crane was talking about. Only my concern is not just the waste that they dumped on their own property without a permit, but it's to do with the conditional use permit. And there was no objections to this. The only objection I had wasn't even an objection. I just says, could you inform me of everything they do with their sewage system on this property? Because it goes directly onto ours. Our property adjoins theirs. We got 40 acres. And I just want to pinpoint a couple of things that are in here. It says that permit holder is hereby notified that failure to comply with any one of the following conditions could result in revocation of their permit. There was a petition given out before that paper came out, and it had, I think, like 125 signatures on it of neighbors. And that was before this building was set on fire with these. I can't call them children because they're not. They're young adults. They're not children. If that had been in a summertime like it is now, that administration building that they burnt down would have burnt us down and many of the neighbors, and they're all concerned about fire. And I'm concerned about the students that are on there. The neighbors never voted to have this type of clientele in there. This use permit is 30 years old, 31 years old. The CUP is the law that was voted on to govern rite of passage. Why is this county government not upholding the laws that they voted into existence? Thank you.
Thank you.
Excuse me, Chair, Board. How many people are left that want to speak?
Those 2.
Oh, we've got, okay, I thought there was only
Yeah, we
what's in
have
line.
more. We're going to have to, yeah.
Okay, all right.
We've only got 1 more, and then we're at the 30-minute. And anyone else that has public comment, we will convene the public comment after the regular board meeting. Okay.
Good morning, members of the board. My name is Lakshmir Grewal. I used to be the air pollution control officer in this county. I retired in 2011. Anyway, my request here before the board is we have 2 modular homes of Gold Strike Court, and we came here to request the department to get a permit, so we want to replace the roof. So we were given an application, we completed the application, asked for $351 and paid for that. And now, yesterday, they called us back, you don't need the permit from us. That's not right. That's unfair, and that money should be refunded because there is no requirement of the law. It's under the state law for those kind of roof replacements can be done without a permit. So my request is for the refund, and the department says go to the board. Thank you, and I hope a favorable consideration.
Thank you. Okay. We've hit our 30-minute for public comment. At this time, we will be moving on to the consent agenda item. Clerk?
Consent agenda items are expected to be routine and non-controversial. They will be acted upon by the board at one time without discussion. Any board member, staff member, or interested party may request a removal of an item from the consent agenda from later discussion.
Okay, at this time, is there any board members that wishes to pull an item on consent?
I would like to pull 6 and 14.
Okay, 6 and 14. Is there any staff that wishes to pull an agenda item? No staff. Is there any public comment on consent agenda? Seeing none in the room, is there any online?
If there are any online requests to pull an item from consent or make a comment, please raise your hand. We have no online requests.
I will bring it back to the board. Other than item number 6 and item number 14, is there a motion to move the consent agenda?
I'll move.
Is moved by Supervisor Hubbard. Is there a second? Second by Supervisor Toffenelli. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Passes on 4-0. Supervisor Toffenelli, you pulled agenda item number 6.
I did,
Oh,
and
sorry.
the reason I pulled
Sorry.
item number...
Sorry.
Oh,
Oh, I
sorry.
thought you
Yeah.
want to read it, I'm
Thank
sorry.
you.
I'm sorry.
That's
Thank you.
okay. Item 6, Agreement, Administrative Office, authorize the county executive officer to execute memorandum of understanding between County of Calaveras, San Andreas Recreation and Park District, and San Andreas Rotary for custodial maintenance of Raymond E. Nielsen Park and Freiberger Park through April 30th, 2031.
Okay.
Thank you, Stacy. The reason I pulled this item is because I want to thank everybody involved in getting this item onto the agenda. This park had run into some issues about who was going to clean it up and whether an MOU was going to be signed or put together. And there was a lot of work in a short period of time. And I want to thank everybody involved that got it on this agenda so we can move forward. As you heard earlier, there's going to be a cleanup at this park on the 28th. And I'd like to see everybody out there. This is a very nice little park in downtown area of San Andreas. And it really needs some help right now, so I think it's great. So I just, again, thank you, everybody that was involved. That's not only staff, other people outside of staff that helped to get this thing together so it'd be presented today at the board. So with that, I'll wait for public comment and then I will motion.
Is there any public comment on this item? Seeing none in the room, any online?
If there is any online public comment for this item, please raise your hand. We have no online public comment.
There's a motion by Supervisor Toffenelli. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Supervisor Andal. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Passes on 4-0. Next, we have item number 14. If the clerk could please read out.
Item 14, ordinance building. 1, adopt an uncodified ordinance extending the duration of the existing 60% reduction of the voter-approved cannabis cultivation tax rates specified in County Code Section 3.56.050 B1 through 3 through December 31, 2030, as authorized by Section 3.56.070, and 2, authorize summary publication. Requires a 4/5 vote.
Who wants to start?
I pulled this item because our last meeting it was discussed, and I brought up that we have until December 31st, 2027. That's what's, it runs through. And I really believe at this time that we should let it be the way it is, and we could readdress this sometime in June when we go into the budget next year and talk about it then. We still have time to prolong it or go forward with it. So I'm not in favor of this, I'll tell you right now, and I just realized it's requiring a 4/5 vote. There's only 4 of us here, so I'm not going to vote for it. So that's why I pulled it. We still have time.
The motion at the last meeting was a 4/5 to 2030, and it passed it on a 5-0. So how do we proceed?
That's correct. All 5 board members did vote
I
to
did.
introduce this at the prior meeting. But this also requires a 4/5. So I mean, Supervisor Toffenelli is correct. If he's not voting for it today, then it won't have the majority that it needs to pass.
We should bring it back.
Yes.
So I think that if a board member wanted to make a motion to continue it today, that would, a motion for continuance would just be a simple majority. So I mean, that is an option. It will have to get re-noticed in the newspaper and all of that. So Mr. Oliver will just have to re-notice it for a future meeting if the board's direction is to continue it to a specific future date.
I would request we actually set the calendar. We do that.
That, I agree, so that we can, so that Mr. Oliver can provide that statutorily required notice. I would recommend that if a board member were to make a motion to continue it, it would be to a specific date, and then he can notice it accordingly.
Is there a motion
I'm not
on the
going to
table?
move to
I know he's
continue
not
it.
gonna move.
I'll make a motion that we deny it at this point. And it can come back before December 31st, 2027.
Is there a-
I'm thinking it should come back maybe next year again, like I said, in June, when we're doing budget.
To be
I
clear,
mean, that's
so,
why it came up to begin with. So,
to be clear, are you providing direction to bring it back at that particular time, which would be a 2 reading ordinance again at that time? Or, I mean, because that sounds like what it's going to be denied here, and I'm going to bring it back for a 2 reading ordinance in December of 2027, or most likely November of 2027. Is that what you're?
I'm thinking sometime in June while we're discussing the budget. That's why it came up to begin with and why it was brought up. So, I mean, that's what I'm thinking. I don't know what the rest of the board.
We have to focus on what's on the agenda.
Yeah,
So
so
are
in
we going
terms
to
of-
continue the current one and then ask for a new item? It's got to be two pieces. So for, right, Sarah?
Yeah, I think, correct. I mean, what's in front of the board today is to adopt this ordinance. As discussed, that
Correct.
requires a 4/5 vote. So if a board member, was disinclined to do that, they obviously just then shouldn't make the motion or vote for it. Alternatively, I think that a majority of the board, on a board member's motion, a majority of the board could move to continue this adoption piece to
That's what I was
your
saying.
next meeting well, I'm just giving up that.
Yeah.
So for instance, your next meeting, Mr. Oliver would have to renotice it. Alternatively, if a board member wanted to make a motion to just kind of take it off the table for the time being and bring it back at some point next year, I agree with Mr. Oliver, we would probably do an introduction and a waiver of reading and then a second adoption at
Okay.
that time.
So
So you have some
saying,
options.
we want to continue it till June, isn't it continuance? To bring it back in June?
It is a continuance, but I mean, I agree with
Okay.
Mr. Oliver that I think at that point it would make sense to do a first reading again, and then
be a whole new
it would be 2 meetings, which is doable. There's no problem with that. So yes, I think that if there were 3 votes to continue it to June of next year, then staff would have direction to bring it back as a introduction and first reading in June of next year, and then a subsequent potential adoption.
It's easier just to let it die here with the understanding that the board would prefer I bring it back as 2 readings.
That's
But I
correct.
don't have to receive the direction to count to 4.
No, that's correct. That's correct. You can make no motion today, and then if there's clear majority of the board staff direction to Mr. Oliver, then he will just
Right.
execute that
That's correct,
direction.
either way.
Okay.
I mean, there is a motion on the table right now.
I'm sorry, do we want public comment?
Oh, Supervisor Toffenelli.
No, again, if,
I'll
Oh,
withdraw my motion right now.
Yeah.
So,
So we have an
But we need
agenda
public comment
item.
also.
Yeah, we have an agenda item.
Public comment?
Yes, sorry.
Sorry.
Thank you. Public comment. Thank you, Stacy.
You're welcome.
Thomas Calaveras Planning Coalition.
This is a comment on process. We're missing one of our supervisors. That district's voters deserve representation when you're making a decision this important. So before you kill something, think about continuing this to a time when all of you can make a decision about whether to adopt this or to table it or to continue it. Thank you.
I know this is my second time up here, but am I under confusion or not? Is this a deduction in tax for the cannabis?
It's a continuing.
It is continuing the existing reduction.
I vote no. We're cutting away our fire department, and we want to give them a deduction? Hello? Excuse me? Really? Really? No.
I just do what I'm told, ma'am.
Hey. Any online public comment?
Reminder again, if you're online and would like to make a comment on this item, please raise your hand. We have no online public comment.
Okay, I am inclined to agree with public comment that since the board member that brought this up and we got to where we're at, we do need to, I'm afraid that we're gonna end up in a vicious cycle. They're gonna request to be put back on the agenda. So I am gonna make a motion to continue it till the last meeting in September to give opportunity for the fifth board member to participate. Is that enough? I don't know what your timeline is for the statute, so I'm.
30-day notifications.
Is that 30 days? I'm thinking mentally, like what date September is?
Yes.
Or does it need to be the first meeting in October?
No. Mr. Oliver could certainly notice it in time for the second September meeting.
So
Yes.
that's the 22nd.
Yes. Yes. Yeah, because I'm afraid we're gonna end up at the next meeting starting this all over. So I think to clear this for staff, we need all five at the dais. And I think that gives you mandatory time. There's no more public comment. There's a motion on the table.
I'll second.
Is a second? All in favor? Aye. Opposed?
No.
3-1. Thank you, Doug.
Thank you, Board.
Okay, we'll move on to the regular agenda. Okay, we have item number 24. I'll turn it over to the clerk to read out.
Item 24, ordinance planning, conduct a public hearing and adopt an urgency ordinance imposing a temporary countywide moratorium pursuant to Government Code Section 65858, defining and prohibiting data centers as a land use until the impacts of such use and the feasibility of reasonable regulations and fees can be assessed. Fine, ordinance exempt from CEQA, requires a 4/5 vote.
Good morning, Board of Supervisors. Brett Sampson, your Planning Director. It's an honor to be before you today. Obviously, data centers have become a hot topic in local jurisdictions. The Planning Department's been looking at this. Legal Counsel's been looking at this. Obviously, data centers that are very large have water and electricity impacts. They have aesthetic impacts, noise impacts, light and glare impacts, and quite frankly, impacts that we may not have discovered yet. So there is a slew of issues with this type of use. And so on the August 11th, 2026 Board of Supervisors meeting, you directed staff to come back with an urgency ordinance that would put in place a moratorium on data centers into the near future. During that time, if approved, staff would analyze these uses as a land use, and staff would put together a plan, so to speak, on how to deal with this type of use if we so chose. One of the biggest issues really is why we can do this and why you can do this as a governmental body is Governmental Code 65858, which authorizes the county to immediately adopt an urgency ordinance to protect the public safety, health, and welfare by providing land uses that may be in conflict with the general plan or zoning. That's really the land use conflict here, is that it is felt that this type of use is really contradictory to our zoning and uses identified in our zoning and in our general plan. And so we want to ensure that these uses just aren't forced in our local community where they don't fit. Just to give you a little bit of context and a little bit of just quick research that I've done, states are actually moving to ban data centers as well. I find it weird or concerning or kind of an anomaly that California, with the most robust environmental law in the country and possibly in the world, has not really moved to ban this use. And so these uses are, in some cases, going into jurisdictions as a by right use ministerially without CEQA. And that's a major concern, I think, for the public. I think it's a major concern for you as the decision makers. And it's certainly a major concern as somebody who is a CEQA practitioner. So we have come back to you today with this urgency ordinance. You will see that we have worked to define the use temporarily. It's an industry standard use for a data center. What I did is I included to be considered a data center in that land use that is to be under the moratorium, that you have to be 5,000 square feet or larger in size. And that's a single building and or the aggregate of all the buildings. So somebody can't come in and say, I want to put in 100 5,000 square foot buildings. So it's 5,000 square feet in total. And in my research, data centers really, in the definition classifications, the medium to large size AI data centers start at about 10,000 square feet and go into very, very large centers. A small data center is considered under 10,000 square feet. So I felt like a commonsensical line to ensure that we don't disallow a use coming in that's maybe a cloud server or a use that's similar but not as large. I felt like 5,000 square feet was a good middle ground to kind of split that small data center in half. What we will do is, if approved, like I said, staff will start to analyze, we'll put together design standards, we'll look at the CEQA implications. I will tell you, with these types of uses in the future, typically this use is analyzed under an environmental impact report, which is the highest level of analysis that CEQA provides. So that type of analysis is really, needed for this type of use. So really, as far as CEQA implications to implement this urgency ordinance, which would be good for 45 days to start, it is CEQA exempt. This action itself is CEQA exempt. As far as the financial implications, that's kind of the unknown right now, of where staff will be off looking at this use, analyzing it, putting together maybe just some design standards. We may be coming back to the board in the future with the request to hire a consultant that would help us in a technical manner with staff to put design standards in place that would, function to alleviate the land use conflict issue that we have. So as far as the financial implications, they could be significant in the future. It just depends on what staff uncovers and really what they come back to you for a future request. But this would be a temporary moratorium on the land use as defined. It would go for 45 days, and then I believe it could be extended up to 2 years total. So we would have to come back to re-up the moratorium if needed. Staff, maybe in a year, staff will be able to come to you within that time frame with recommendations. But certainly this urgency moratorium will give us, I think, some clarity as far as our concerns about this use trying to come in. There's been some very negative stories throughout the nation of, like I said, this type of use coming in. They say it's by right, very well-funded corporations, and so a county such as us with limited resources, we really need to be proactive and protect ourselves. So that's what I'm here before you today, is to request that you approve this urgency ordinance, and certainly I'm happy to take any questions.
Julie Moss-Lewis, Assistant County Counsel. I just wanted to clarify one thing, just so the board understands the full set of options. The county is required to do further analysis before doing a permanent ban on data centers. But one of the potential options after the impacts are analyzed is to come back with a permanent ordinance preventing the use. I just wanted the board to understand, the public to understand that we just are required under California law to do the analysis first. So it's not 100% that it's going to come back with a recommendation to allow them with regulations. It might come back as a recommendation to ban them permanently.
Thank you for
And
the
it could be a recommendation where the use classification is radically changed, where it is allowed, but it's on a much smaller scale than nationwide, possibly larger than the 5,000 square feet, but much smaller than, millions of square feet.
And I think that, as we talked about like, at the last meeting, is let's use a hospital for an example. They may need cloud storage, and unfortunately, that gets confused with a data center. And so making sure that we're not hindering the technology needs of business, of those type of businesses. I mean, even the county is relying on cloud storage. And then comparing it to those massive AI data centers that we see that are getting put in. So I think that really needs to be cleared in the public eye as well. With the way technology is going, we do need cloud storage, but what we don't want is the mega AI data centers. So I want to make sure that the public understands that, and a couple people in the room, so I just want to reiterate it. Does the board want public comment first before they have any, okay. We will do public comment on this agenda item.
Marty Crane. I live in District 5. I think we all know that we are not a big city with a lot of indiscriminate noise, that other noises, new noises get lost in all that white noise, traffic, all that. Where we live, all the beautiful hillsides and everything, noise travels at different ways. I mean, I can say something on my hill, and they know exactly what I'm saying, like 2 miles over across the valley. So anyway, I'm very careful what I say. But regardless, I just wanted to say that there's a lot of things, as you know, that need to be taken into consideration about whether we do it or whether we don't. And if we do, where do we put it? We heard from Ms. Newman earlier that they weren't even notified about the battery thing, and that will be impacted. They will be impacted by that. And so whether the law says you have to notify within a certain feet, 100 feet or 300 feet, no, they're impacted. So we should do better in notifying. So I just wanted to say that I think, you need one more piece of information. Like in Michigan, they have a data center. Oh, hold on, I lost it. Here it is. In Michigan, the people are suing. Of course, there's a lot of that going on. This lady and her mom, they wanted to hear the data center for themselves, the noise that they've been hearing about. So they went out there and they recorded it. And so I would just like you to hear that, knowing that there are 720 minutes in one 24-hour period. This will just be like 1 or 2 minutes of freaking irritation for you to consider. So let me...
Data center. It's very small, but here's the noise.
You live right next door to this? No.
This is the Dowagiac Data Center. It's very small, but here's the noise.
It's a very small data center, and this is just a small sampling of, I don't know, could you sleep? Could you talk to your neighbors if this was next door to you? So it's very important that we consider
This is the Dowagiac Data Center.
our hillsides and how noise and volume and everything travels and how people are impacted. So please remember this. Next time you try to go to sleep and you go, oh, that damn data center
Marty.
they put next to. Oh,
Thank you, Marty.
oh.
Thank you.
Well, that was just a sampling of their 24-hour period.
Good morning.
Hi. Good morning. My name is Pat Gutman, resident of McCollum Hill. And ditto on that, I can hear a rooster a mile away from my place. So anyway, on August 11th, this board addressed the issue of opening up Calaveras County to data center projects. Virtually all public comments were to stop data centers from coming into the county, or at the very least, do the urgency ordinance. My own comments were data centers suck up a lot of water, power, leaving residents with less water, high energy costs. And of course, the stone bears and counting data centers for the first time. In an article dated 7/27/26, the article stated how Meta got everything it wanted in a secret Louisiana data center land deal. A New York Times examination details how the Silicon Valley giant used private talks to start a project big enough to cover 6 square miles. Whether we believe it or not is a moot point. It does, however, give us pause to completely assess the subject of data centers in Calaveras County in the light of day. That requires that the urgency ordinance be unanimously passed by this board to reflect both the facts on the ground and the will of the people. Thank you for listening.
Thank you.
Good morning. Peggy Flynn, District 2. I support adoption of item 24. The findings correctly recognize that a data center is not simply a warehouse or ordinary industrial use. Its real impacts come from 24-hour electrical demand, cooling and water systems, generators, fuel and batteries, persistent mechanical noise, and associated utility infrastructure. I ask for 2 additions to your action today. First, direct staff to post a public work plan within 7 days and to hold a noticed public study session before returning with recommendations. Section 2C lists important study topics, but the ordinance does not yet establish the study schedule, responsible departments, public participation, or the specific products staff must bring back. Please require public findings, draft permanent regulations, an application checklist, CEQA recommendations, fiscal and property market analysis, transparency requirements, and enforceable operational standards before the moratorium expires. Second, please address the 500 square foot exemption. Size alone does not measure data center intensity. I think we just heard that. A smaller AI, cloud, co-location, or high-density computing facility can still impose very large electrical, cooling, water, generator, battery, noise, infrastructure impacts, traffic, and wildfire implications. Exempt ordinary ancillary equipment, but do not create a loophole for a commercial data center operation solely on floor area. One technical correction worth flagging: Section 5 states written reports, Section 6 is severability, Section 7 is conflict of laws, and then again labels publishing as Section 6. It then again labels effective date and term as Section 7. This does not undermine the public rationale, but staff should correct the duplicate section numbers before final adoption. The more consequential issue is the 5,000 square foot exemption and the absence of a publicly defined study process. The report says the county intends to study potential amendments not only to zoning and development standards, but also to the general plan, infrastructure policies, utility allocation procedures, and environmental review thresholds and performance standards, and possibly to determine that data centers should be prohibited. The board has already found that the county must decide not only how to regulate data centers, but whether they are feasible or appropriate at all. The 45-day report must therefore evaluate the prohibition alternative as well as conditional permitting with real evidence on net community benefits and impacts. Please adopt the pause, define the public work program, and ensure that staff returns with a real regulatory framework, not just a progress report. Thank you.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning, members. Judici, District 5. I agree with what everybody before me has said, some much more detailed than what I'm going to propose. I speak in support of the item because definitely this needs more study and definitely a moratorium is required for us to really understand what is involved. And I believe that the 5,000 square foot item is a bit, it's a bit too lenient. I agree with the prior speaker. So anyway, I stand in support of the measure and I hope you guys can support it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Brock Estes from Valley Springs, doing my civic duty by looking to the future, but starting in the past. A couple hundred years ago, almost, we had a gold rush out here, and there was no plan. Everybody was just digging a mine, taking the gold out, going on, digging in another place. Nobody ever said, what are we going to do about these mines in 100 years? Now, luckily, the government's come along with the Superfund, and I believe one of the mines in Jackson has been designated to Superfund site. But there was just no planning done because we were barely a state. Now, if we're looking at something like this, we really have to look towards the future because we don't know how this is going to happen. In 20 years, they may decide it was crazy to build data centers all around the country. We should have put them all offshore on the ocean floor. Who knows? But we could be left with an abandoned data center in 20 years. So I would suggest that two things. Number one, after the next election, when Ben Stopper's seat is filled, and I believe Percy Giudice is a tech guy. He's got a tech background. There should be a committee of 3 of you supervisors who handle any negotiations. No one person in a room with one person from a tech company making deals. There should be 3 of you, and you all know what each other's saying, you're all keeping each other honest. And in doing so, the very first thing you have to ask anyone who wants to put something here is, what are your plans for removing what you put here? Say it doesn't work out, something doesn't work out. You're not just going to walk away and leave us with a, building that makes noise, at 5,000 feet. You have to put up money in advance to do the removal of the data center, if necessary. If not necessary, that money will come back to you. And meanwhile, the interest on that money should go to the county. But they should put up millions of dollars to remove what they're putting in if that becomes necessary. We have to look ahead, not just at what we're doing right now. So those are my suggestions.
Thank you.
Good morning, supervisors. My name is Colleen Platt with myvalleysprings.com. We are a nonprofit organization that formed in 2005 to promote public involvement in Calaveras County community land use planning. Thank you all for your clear direction and support on August 12th to bring this urgency ordinance forward. We have supported this moratorium on data centers in Calaveras County, and I hope you all support the urgency ordinance today. Data centers are not compatible with our county. We at least need a pause pending further study. The urgency part of this ordinance is warranted because our existing general plan and zoning code do not address or define data centers at all. It's a totally new land use and business concept. Similar to the asphalt plant proposed in Valley Springs years ago, the use was not defined in county code, and because of that lack of clarity, there was pressure on the planning department to approve the asphalt plant as an accepted use, similar to other by right land uses. This led to some bad decisions, community upset, and years of appeals and protest hearings. So at this time, a data center developer could claim it is similar to an existing land use category, pressure planning to permit it without any environmental review, and get a data center built by default by right. because our county code does not have a definition or deal with it. So please vote in support of this urgency ordinance for a moratorium on data centers and pause them now. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, or morning still probably. My name is Bernadette Catania, and just listening to this, I had no intention of speaking, but I just wanted the public to understand what 5,000 square feet is. If you look at a residential lot, they're usually typically around 6,000 feet. So I don't think 5,000 feet is really too big, and I'm sure it'd be in a zoning area. So that's just my comment.
Thank you.
Tom Infacino, Calaveras Planning Coalition. We have been down this innovation road many times in Calaveras County with regard to emerging markets. We let the emerging market of short-term vacation rentals remain unchecked until now there are over 800 of them. Complaints are flowing in from neighborhoods all over the county, and there's an economy-choking shortage of rental housing for people who actually want to live and work here in Calaveras County all year round. We have let unpermitted wedding venues go unchecked while complaints continue. We allowed marijuana grows in the midst of residential subdivisions until people threatened to ban them entirely at the ballot box. Today, the board is considering an urgency ordinance related to data centers in Calaveras County. In 2019, we adopted a general plan implementation measure LU5B. New and emerging market states, quote, in consultation with affected industry groups and organizations, review the zoning code to assess the adequacy of the code in recognizing and facilitating the provisions of new, emerging, and re-emerging markets in Calaveras County. I believe that what you're considering today is consistent with that general plan policy. During the study period, let's look at the results of these projects in other locations. Let's look at the permit requirements in other counties. Let's identify the good actors and the bad actors in these industries so that we don't get conned by the bad actors. Let's look at our inventory of appropriately zoned industrial land to figure out which of the 200 industrially zoned parcels are suitable for such uses and which are not. But more than that, let's ask the big questions that never get asked during individual project reviews. Like, how many of these facilities do we want? Do we need? Or is our county's fair share? Are the facility permit conditions the kind that will get enforced by the county? Or are these the facilities owned by the type of companies that are likely to be given a pass when they violate their permit conditions? Will county staff and public officials be willing to discuss code violations with the victims? Do these facilities make our world a better place to live, to work, to pray, and to play? Thank you.
Thank you.
I just had a thought. And we're talking about developing land in Calaveras County, proper uses. I know a plan was conducted 10, 15 years ago called the Mintier Harnish Report. We spent $1 million to have a report done to assess Calaveras County. We've never been allowed to see that report. I don't know what's in that report, but I think I have a good guess. Somebody that's making a whole lot of money off of not or developing certain places in Calaveras County is putting the kibosh on that report. I think somebody, some crooks in Calaveras County have kept that report from being made public. Somebody in Calaveras County is making an awful lot of money out of not letting us realize what the proper development and proper use and proper future for Calaveras County would be. We need to see that report. It's long overdue. We spent a lot of money on it. I know I cleaned toilets and scrubbed floors to pay my taxes. I want to see what that report says. I think it'll give us guidance in the future. Thank you.
Okay, if there's no more in-person public comment, I will be shifting to online and then back to the dais. Okay, seeing none in the room, is there any public comment online?
Yes, we have one online public comment.
Okay.
It's an online caller. Online caller, if you would like to speak on this item, please go ahead and unmute yourself. Go ahead.
Must God Robertson, and I hate data centers because they'll bring all sorts of fired people into the county, like and faggots.
Okay, stop,
God bless
stop,
America.
stop, cut.
Thank you, sir.
Stop.
I muted. Thank you.
We're cutting the comment, we don't need that kind of language in the boardroom. With that, is there another public comment online?
There is no further online
Okay,
public comment.
we'll bring it back. Okay, is there any board questions for Brett, comments, feedback? Okay, any other?
I just have a question about the 5,000 square feet. You're saying that is the square footage that you don't think they would entertain putting something in at 5,000 square feet?
It wouldn't support a very large AI center. Now, whether it would support a very small one, I think it could. It would be on the small side of a small data center, the 0 to 5,000 square feet. So now that size, in looking at, the energy consumption and things like that, I think that they could use cooling mechanisms that would be fairly traditional for that size of a building and wouldn't need the massive amount of cooling of water and the electricity that the larger centers would need. But it would still be an energy consumption use, like if a cloud server room or something like that, a storage room came in, they would also need that type of, cooling capability. But it was felt at the time when we drafted this that 5,000 square feet would be the small of the small data center, if allowed.
I just don't, I understand what you're saying, but I'm not sure why we didn't go with 2,500 square feet.
We could.
We could?
Sure.
That's not an issue? I just have
We
some
could also add
concern.
language, it was brought to my attention that we could say it has to be a secondary use on the property. It can't be a primary.
Okay.
Say that again. I'm sorry.
We could add a stipulation to the classification along with either 2,500 square feet or 5,000 square feet, that use has to be a secondary use on the property. It can't just be a standalone primary use.
2,500 square foot building for
Yeah.
the day that, it would have to be a secondary.
Secondary, yes,
It
to
could be
another
a-
primary use.
To be clear, it could be a standalone separate building.
It would be a
The
standalone
use
building.
Would have to be
Yeah.
secondary.
There would have to be an
Secondary,
existing
that's what-
primary use.
Cause I'm worried that we'll lock it like the hospital. I know I'm picking on the hospital, but what if they need cloud storage?
Well, that's something that can come before the board. I understand what you're saying. My concern is if someone comes in and wants to put a 5,000 square foot data center in with the hopes of after 2 years, moratorium's over, something happens, there's a different board or whatever, and it opens it up, they're already here. They can just expand and go, even if it's 5 years from now. That's my concern about what square footage it is. I understand what you're saying, but that can also come to the board. That's a discretionary thing we do. That's my concerns, is they're now established. But there's 5,000, they may not be making a whole bunch of money right now, but they're established in the county, and if something happens in the future, boom,
Correct.
'Cause
That's
I'm
it.
not
And
for
it would
these
be at the
things.
board's discretion to, you could take the square footage totally out. There doesn't have to be a threshold.
Because I'm not for these things at all. I don't, Calaveras is not, but doesn't mean they're not, so. I don't know how the rest of the board feels on it.
I like the idea of the secondary usage, and I don't know whether that would be able to police it enough. But I'm with you, I mean, this is a no-brainer for me, no data centers, however. But again, I take Supervisor Follendorf's position that we can't hinder our own businesses if they need this type of service.
No, I just had my concerns, the rest of the board, this takes a 4/5 vote, and so whatever you guys come up with, the motion or whatever, I'm gonna vote for whatever, because I want it to pass. I just had the concerns about the square footage part of it.
I share that concern. I think, moving forward with the urgency ordinance is pertinent in giving that time to be proactive and research this and look at it, be it, staff studying, a consultant, how we go about this. I think, we do need to be careful with the square footage. I think there could be room for classifications, like you mentioned, the secondary uses, those sort of things. I think it might warrant a little bit more discussion and kind of making sure we're safeguarding that. Like Supervisor Tofinelli, I am concerned about like that foot in the door ahead of this.
We could take the square footage threshold out for now, while then staff analyzes and looks at whether, a permanent moratorium should occur, whether there should be design standards or where it should be cited, that sort of thing as part of staff analysis and the report back to the board. That would be certainly within 2 years.
Right.
So that could be done as well. It could be reduced to 2,500 square feet. Really at the board's discretion.
If we do no square footage, will that hinder current businesses in town? I mean, I think this is the county. We have a cloud storage. It's called the data room. Is that gonna fall under this ban? And that's where I don't wanna do an unintended consequence when we already have cloud storage happening as we speak. Our own institute right here has that. So that, what would make sense? Like, I don't know what the room is at the hospital. They're not gonna show that. That's a security
That's right,
breach.
yeah.
But I just wanna be conscientious. So if we do put, how do we do that? Because I don't want to then get a business like the hospital, even us, I don't know what we're gonna do. Like, we put this ban and now they can't have their data stored for IT security. I just wanna make sure that we don't put them where they're in violations of the business.
In your hospital example, and that example where there's an existing primary use that's legal and permitted, and there's many things that they can do in a hospital where a server room would be considered part of that use.
Okay.
It would
Okay.
be,
I
just
just
like
want-
offices
yeah,
are
I
part of
just
the
wanna
use,
make
yeah.
sure that
So there
we're-
would be, I can't speak to other planning
Yeah.
directors and where they would fall on it. Certainly right now, if a data center use came in, I'll just say this to the mic, I do not believe the use of an AI data center is identified in our code, and I would say it's not allowed because the code is silent on it, and that's just period. So I don't know what other cases and other decisions in the past, but that's where I'm coming from here and now, is that if we did get one of these applications before this was in place, I would absolutely say that it's not allowed now because the code is silent on it.
Okay.
So.
So if we say none, there's no square footage, could we still take in it while you're doing this research consideration if we do find out, let's just say the hospital has 5,000 square foot storage room somewhere there, I don't know, in the base. Can we figure out how to incorporate some of that stuff?
We could incorporate
Okay.
that as far as our analysis, and that would be the report back to the board. But like I said, right now, especially if it was if they needed a server room at the hospital, if they weren't even expanding, if they were doing interior modifications for that, it would
No
be
more comment?
more than likely allowed by right.
Okay, okay.
But again, that's a secondary use.
It's
as you
secondary
pointed
use,
out.
yeah. And that's what,
Primary.
maybe the
Yeah.
best thing to do is to take out the just to delete that last sentence in the use classification now, give staff marching orders to look at this, to analyze, to see, and to report back to the board what we feel. To be honest with you, the 5,000 square feet really was a broad-based analysis by myself and not a technical expert, not by staff really
Yeah.
mulling over. This happened very quickly, so I think to give staff time to look at it would be a good idea.
There's no more public comment. We're at the dais for discussion. Okay, so Supervisor Hubbard, were you,
I was just going to make a motion, but
okay, yeah,
I would like to move this item with the elimination of the 5,000 square feet and bringing staff, staff would come back to us also with the secondary usage language and what have you, and obviously the study.
Okay. We've got a motion on the table.
Yeah, I will second it. But we'll move forward on this, what's in front of us now, with 0 square footage. Correct?
So we've got a motion and a second. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Passes 4-0.
Thank you so much. It's been an honor.
Okay. With that, we're gonna take a 10-minute quick break for facility, and then we'll be back in 10 minutes. Okay, thank you. Hey, welcome back. We will continue to the next regular agenda item, which is number 25. If the clerk could please read that out.
Item 25, resolution, County Clerk-Recorder and Registrar voters. 1, adopt a resolution authorizing the County Recorder to establish a recorder notification program as required by Government Code 27297.7, and 2, authorize the imposition of a fee of $4 per recommended document to recover the reasonable cost of administering the program as permitted by Section 27297.7.
Ms. Turner.
Good morning, Board. Rebecca Turner, County Clerk Recorder. I'm here for the resolution this morning and also an ordinance. The two items go together, but I will talk about them separately. Senate Bill 255 passed last year, which added 27297.7 to the Government Code, and now requires every county to establish a recorder notification program by January 1st. The program is intended to provide the property owners with timely notice of when certain documents affecting their property, such as deeds, quitclaim deeds, mortgages, and deeds of trust are recorded. So anything transferring title, we're now going to send out a letter to those individuals, but we're going to send it to the property owner's address, so whatever's with Megabyte in the assessor's office. Right now, we have what's called like fraud notifications, so anyone can opt in to fraud notifications. However, they go to whatever address that the person who opted in. So it's not necessarily going to the property owner. So if somebody just wanted to know about somebody's property, they could opt into those, and they get notification on somebody else's property. These notifications would be specific to whoever is paying the taxes according to the assessor's office. So it's a really good program as far as ensuring property owners know what's happening with their property. The program will be administered in-house in our office with coordination of the assessor's office. It will require some enhancements to the assessor's Megabyte system, which have cost with those. I am requesting that you adopt the resolution establishing the program and authorize a $4 notification fee, which should cover the cost of any software enhancements and also staff time for mailing these notifications. Right now, the estimated cost per document is $4.11, so we rounded down to $4 to make it an easy fee. We will reassess after we implement the program to see what actual operating, like what the costs truly will be, and make sure we're actually collecting the true cost of the program. So that is all I have. If you have any questions, I'm sorry I talk like I'm rapid fire here, but one day I will learn to slow down.
Are there any questions from the board? Supervisor?
Yes, if I could ask, just in reading it, I was surprised that it was so inexpensive. I think the $4, I would have expected it to be much more. So I'm glad to hear you say, as you put in the presentation, that you will go back and look at it again.
Yeah, at this point, I was by far the lowest county I've seen come through with costs. Some of the costs I couldn't bring myself to add because I don't know that it's a true cost, but it was indexing and things that we're already doing currently that we collect other fees for. So I was afraid of double upping our fees. So I truly only included the things that were separate and contained to this program. So I think a reassessment once we're actually operating would be ideal, because there might be things I'm looking over or glossing over as it's not in.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Any other supervisor questions? Supervisor Andor?
I just want to say I appreciate this, this attempt to safeguard people, and I think it's good to remind the public to make sure that their mailing address is correctly on file with the assessor's office. to make sure they're receiving this. I've encountered some issues for community members with back taxes and various things, so check that your address matches at the assessors.
If there's no other supervisor questions or comments, I'll turn it over for public comment. Any public comment? Seeing none in the room, any online?
If there's any online public comment for this item, please raise your hand. We have no online public comment.
We'll bring it back to the board.
I'll move this item.
Is the motion on the table? Is there a second?
I'll second.
Is there a second? All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Passes 4-1. We'll move on to agenda item number 26. Clerk, if you could please read out.
Item 26, County Clerk-Recorder and Registrar voters introduce waive first reading and authorize summary publication of an ordinance amending County Code Chapter 2.06 regarding assessor's parcel number requirements on documents presented for recordation.
This item is updating the current county code. Right now, it just requires APNs on deeds, and it doesn't include quitclaim deeds, mortgages, or deeds of trust, and those are documents included in the recorder notification program. And without that APN, when they're recorded, there's no way for us to attach to the assessor's megabyte side, so we wouldn't have the right address to mail the notifications. So we're requesting the ordinance get updated so that we can mail the notifications as required by the program.
Any questions by board? Okay, seeing none, is there any public comment? Seeing none in the room, is there any online?
We have no online public
Okay,
comment.
we'll bring it back to the board. Is there a motion?
I'll move it.
It's moved by Supervisor Andal. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Supervisor Toffenali. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Passes 4-0. Okay, we'll move on to item number 27. If the clerk could please read out.
Item 27, action item, Administrative Office. 1, introduce and waive first reading of an ordinance rescinding Chapter 20.10 of the Calaveras County Code, Tulloch Reservoir. 2, authorize summary publication. And 3, find exempt from CEQA.
I turn it over to Denise.
Good morning, Board. Today we're bringing forward an ordinance to rescind
Oh,
chapter.
her mic's on. Oh, Bennett, turn it.
Today we're bringing forward an ordinance to rescind Chapter 20.10 of the Calaveras County Code related to Tulloch Reservoir. This chapter duplicates Tridam's existing authority under its federal FERC license and shoreline management plan, and Tridam already holds full enforcement responsibility below the 515-foot contour line. The Sheriff's Office and county departments will continue their existing roles above that line without any change in service. Staff recommends introducing and waiving the first reading of the ordinance, authorizing summary publication, and finding the action exempt from CEQA under Section 15061B3.
Yeah. Thank you to the board for allowing this to make the agenda. The reason why I asked consideration for this to be put on the agenda is for the past 3 years, I've been participating with community discussions. There's been multiple town halls. There's been meetings where this item has come up. We've met with staff numerous times over the years, so this wasn't something that was brought up lightly. And after final discussions with staff brought this recommendation based on the comments from the town halls, from constituents, and I think it's time to reevaluate it. I have heard from many constituents over the years that this is not, and staff addressed it. It's a duplication. We really need an MOU with Tridam to go forward for all county staff to do any type of implementation. So with that, if it's okay with the board, I'll open it for public comment. So, okay, we'll do public comment. Is there any,
Okay, good morning. It's still morning. My name is Bernadette Catania. I own and operate the Lakes Treatment Center. I have in Copperablas on Lake Tulloch, and I've been at that facility and property there for almost 3 decades. And we have a very unique situation. I want to thank the board for doing this, especially Amanda, and looking at this. She has really worked well with the constituents, done her research, and I think this is really important for our property rights to have this, have the county take over, and like the memorandum of understanding would be great. And thank County Council too, over the years for listening to us and I just addressing it and doing the research. And again, thank you, Amanda, for really being proactive and listening to the constituents.
Any other public comment? Yes. Okay, none in the room. We'll move it to online.
We have Scott Frazier.
Okay. Scott?
Scott, go ahead.
Good morning. My name is Scott Frazier. I'm the owner of the first known waterfront unit built in Calaveras County, and I'm also the trustee of what I believe to be the first waterfront unit built in the Poker Flat subdivision, which is also the first subdivision on the water there. I totally support hydroelectric power and support Tulloch Reservoir existing. It's one of the most precious resources of Calaveras County. Homes on Tulloch Reservoir provide the largest concentrated property tax base for Calaveras County, and since most of these are second homes and used seasonally, these properties also require the least amount of county resources. Support of hydroelectric power cannot come at the expense of property rights. Your actions today are helpful in maintaining the balance of property rights and ensuring that land use management originates at the point between the property owner and the county charged with the duty of overseeing use and development of those properties. Cannot say I agree totally with some of the words I just heard, but that's irrelevant for now. I do agree that we're traveling in the right direction with this. I encourage this. I encourage others to recognize this. And most of all, I thank you very much for all the time you heard listening to the public and all of us. I appreciate it. And thank you for putting this on the agenda today.
Any other online public comment?
We have no further online public comment.
Okay. With that, we'll bring it, if there's no further public comment, we'll bring it back to the board. Julie, do you mind just clarifying?
Julie Moss Lewis, Assistant County Counsel, and I just, I think this is more of a procedural thing than anything else. The 515 elevation line is sort of the hard line below which we don't really have any authority, and anything we do below the 515 line is essentially with the good graces of Tridem allowing us to do that. I've reviewed the FERC license, I've reviewed the shoreline management plan, which is essentially a more granular extension of the license, and everything in 2010 is about what happens below the 515 line. The only areas where there's any overlap would be building permits, because we'll have houses that are both above, that are mostly above the 515 line, but might have some portions that extend below. It is more efficient for Doug Oliver to issue a single building permit rather than having Tridem do one portion of the building permit and Doug doing another portion. He's willing to continue that process as long as Tridem's happy to have us continue doing that. An ordinance doesn't give us anything. What we need is essentially a memorandum of understanding or contract with Tridem whereby they authorize us to do anything for them below the 515 line. So us passing an ordinance like 2010 doesn't give us any additional power over a federal license than we already have. I don't understand why that was chosen as the vehicle for this in the first place. The shoreline management plan specifically said is, I think, number one of its implementation measures that Tridem should enter into a contractual agreement with the county for these sorts of things. And of course, we're open to that in the future to bring before the board if they want to, but I don't think the existence of 2010 gives us anything or any authority that we wouldn't already have, nor does it get rid of any authority that we already have. So I think it's just a source of confusion at this point. I agree with your suggestion of bringing it forward.
Any other board questions or comments? You might, you know.
Oh, sorry.
Okay. If there's no board comments or questions, then I will go ahead and make a motion to support staff's recommendation.
I will move this item.
Oh, you're gonna move it? Okay. Then I will second.
You wanted to do it? I
You-
looked
yeah,
at you, I
that-
thought, okay, go ahead.
I'll move this item, per staff's recommendation, for 20.10.
Can I second it then?
Yes.
Oh, thank you.
Okay, there's a motion and a second, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Passes 4-0. Thank you. And thank you to everyone over the last couple years. I know this has been a lot of hard work in the background, and I appreciate your patience. Okay. We are going to convene back into public comment. Oh,
You know, you're good.
yeah, back into public comment. We had a few left over, so we will start that lineup. Do I think we still have a few people in the room? And then after public comment, we will go into supervisor announcements.
Good morning, Tom Infacino, Calaveras Planning Coalition. I'll go fast. In her budget presentation 2 weeks ago, Ms. Hubner said we need to look for, quote, long-term strategies to stabilize the general fund moving forward, end quote. We at the CPC agree. In 2019, the Board of Supervisors unanimously adopted the general plan update. The public facilities and services element and the safety element include policies and implementation measures obligating the county to adopt impact fees and to secure revenues for fire protection, law enforcement, and libraries. Safety element implementation measure S-3H, Fire Protection District funding states, quote, assist as needed with local fire protection district impact fee review and adoption to support minimum levels of service, inspection, and enforcement, end quote. The responsible entities include administration. This assistance is needed. Today, over 6 years after the board adopted the general plan, only 4 of the 9 districts have impact fees, and most are 1/4 to 1/6 of the fees charged by other counties in the region. Proper impact fees could help to safely wean the fire districts from reliance on county revenues. Public facilities and services element implementation measure PF-1C, public facilities impact fees, states, quote, assist public agencies in establishing impact fees as determined necessary by said agencies in accordance with Government Code Section 66,000 et sec, to help ensure the costs of services and facilities are borne by all beneficiaries and do not burden existing residents and landowners with costs of providing infrastructure and services needed to serve new development, unquote. The responsible entities listed to complete this task are the Planning Department and Administration. Today, this assistance is necessary. Public Facilities and Services Element Implementation Measure PF-4C, Funding Law Enforcement and Emergency Services, states, quote, establish a development impact fee to fund capital costs and operation of law enforcement, fire protection, communication, and emergency services to serve new development while maintaining existing levels of service. This is not only a legally binding commitment under the general plan law, it is also a legally binding general plan mitigation measure. The responsible entities listed for completing this task are Sheriff and Administration. Today, it's over 6 years after general plan adoption, and these new development impact fees to support law enforcement have not been passed. Finally, Public Facilities and Services Element Implementation Measure PF-7D Library states, consider establishing a secure funding source for public libraries. The county adopted this as a legally binding mitigation measure under CEQA. The county entities responsible to do this are listed as Library, Board of Supervisors, and you guessed it, Administration. Today, over 6 years after the general plan adoption, there are no new development impact fees to support our libraries. Rather than working against each other, let's work together to put both the county and the fire district on firmer fiscal foundation. Please adopt the development impact fees to support the fire district, the sheriff department, and the library.
Hi, Pat Gutman from McCollum Hill. So what sort of revenue would be raised by new development impact fees for fire departments? If the Board of Supervisors and the Administration Department had been diligent, they could have worked with all the 9 fire districts to set up or update single-family residential development impact mitigation fees in 2020. The fees in similar jurisdictions like El Dorado County, Placer County range from $1.06 to $1.20 per square foot of construction, relative to the $200 to $400 per square foot costs of residential construction. It is a small price to pay. Some jurisdictions waive these fees for qualifying affordable housing projects. A fee of $1.10 per square foot of construction across homes averaging 1,700 square feet would have generated about $243,000 of revenue in 2021 from the 130 building permits issued. It would have yielded about $286,000 of revenue in 2022 from the 153 building permits issued. It would have yielded about $230,000 in 2023 from the 123 building permits issued, and $135,000 in 2024 from the 72 building permits issued. Instead, the county gave an over $750,000 free lunch to builders and buyers of the over 475 new single-family residences over that 4-year period. Supervisors and administrators, please do your jobs, work with all of the 5 districts to adopt up-to-date single-family residential development impact fees for new development so we can properly fund the fire districts. Thank you for listening.
Thank you. Hi, Marty.
Marty Crane. So some of the issues with the fire department are very similar to the issues with our law enforcement, which, by the way, I have to say, I am so proud of the seamless operation between law enforcement, fire, CAL FIRE, and our county. You know, we're learning and we're starting to work in harmony. So thank you, thank you. I'm sorry that we've had so much practice lately. So I want to know, so what sort of revenue would be raised by new development impact fees for law enforcement? If the Board of Supervisors and the Administration Department had been diligent, they could have passed a single-family residential development impact mitigation fee in 2020. The fees in similar jurisdictions like Fresno County and San Benito County range from $1,100 to $1,600 a unit. A $1,300 per unit fee would have raised for law enforcement about $169,000 in 2021, $199,000 in 2022, $160,000 in 2023, and $93,000 in 2024. We could have used that. Instead, the county gave another $500,000 free lunch to the builders and buyers of the over 475 new single-family residences over that 4-year period. These people are building and buying homes that average over $350,000 each. So it's not like they really need the free lunch. We understand that adopting such fees requires staff and consultants to complete studies, identifying capital costs, estimating future development, and calculating roughly proportional impact fees. It also requires the Board of Supervisors to adopt those fees. If other counties can do it, so can Calaveras County. If the county didn't want to do it, then the board shouldn't have promised to do it in the general plan it unanimously approved in 2019. Supervisors and administrators, please do your jobs. Adopt a single-family residential development impact fee for the new development so you can properly fund the Sheriff's Department. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Brenda McHenry. I live in Copperopolis. I'm a volunteer at the library there. I know how hard your employee works there to maintain the many activities that happen in that very small space. So what sort of revenue would be raised by development
impact fees for our library system. If the Board of Supervisors and Administration Department had been diligent, they could have passed a single-family residential development impact fee specifically to support libraries in 2020. The fees in similar jurisdictions like San Benito, Solano, and Sacramento counties range from around $1,300 to $1,600 per unit of newly constructed single-family housing. If we had a $1,400 per unit fee now, it would have raised for the library about $182,000 in 2021, $214,000 in 2022, $172,000 in 2023, and $101,000 in 2024. But instead, the county gave another $250,000 free lunch to the builders and buyers of the 475 new single-family residences over that 4-year period. We gave away free lunches this summer at the library, but I'm pretty sure they weren't worth that much. It would be one thing for the county to give away free lunches in a time of county revenue prosperity, and even that precludes saving for leaner times. But that is not what is happening. Instead, the county is giving away free lunch in a time when they are cutting budgets and reducing services. The general plan's impact fee policies were adopted to avoid this very circumstance. As we heard from an earlier speaker, one purpose of these fees is to serve new development while maintaining existing levels of service. Another purpose is not to burden existing residents and landowners with the costs of providing infrastructure and service needed to serve new development. Supervisors and administrators, please do your jobs. Adopt a single-family residential development impact fee for new development so you can properly fund our libraries.
I guess I'm the last guy. I'm Bruce Judici, District 5. And at the risk of repeating what some people said earlier with respect to firefighter TOT transfer, I rise to speak to the issue of using firefighter TOT and Proposition 172 funding to patch the county's perennial budget shortfall. The fiscal presentation at the last supervisors meeting was from the county's perspective, contrasting the county's deficit to the fire district's surplus. The fire district story wasn't fully told. First, the fire district's books combine operations and equipment funds. Part of their surplus reflects funds set aside for capital expenditures. For a fair comparison, the county's capital fund should be included in their available funds, not just the general fund. Including that fund would make the county's bottom line look positive too. Second, bunching all the districts into a single bottom line skews the average due to one revenue outlier. Of the 9 districts shown, Ebbets Pass, with its $9 million in funds, makes up almost a third of the total revenue. Without getting too deep into the details, the needs and resources of each district need to be seen individually. Just because Ebbets Pass is well funded, the other 8 may not be. Third, by conservatively underestimating revenue, firefighters protect themselves from state revenue reimbursements that may not be realized. When fire emergencies hit outside our area, as in past years, those budgeted revenues will be offset by strike team reimbursements, either in the current year or in the coming year. And finally, without going too deeply into the fire district's budgets, their staff are, by and large, paid close to minimum wage, with no retirement or health benefits. The county would find it difficult to attract and retain quality workers if it had to reduce their compensation package, removing retirement and health benefits to its workers. So we need to start with a transparent process instead of moving the goalposts after the fiscal year has begun. Please rescind these budget changes. Thank you.
Any other further public comment? Any online? Okay, we'll move on to Supervisor,
Just one quick, I forgot to tell you guys, it's on the 20th of September. I hope you'll be there. I hope.
Okay.
That's all. I forgot.
Thank you, Gina. I will move on to Supervisor Announcements. Supervisor Habity.
Thank you, Chair. On the 12th, I attended the CMCAA meeting. I wanted to say thank you to Lee Kimball for picking up the ball and really moving with it. On the 18th, I met with Public Health, Colleen in Public Health. On the 20th, I attended the board review for the Sierra Nevada Conservancy. On the 21st, I attended the Sierra Industry meeting in Sonora, where Sherry Roosh gave a presentation on the education project that she did with technicians for electronic vehicles, and she thanked Supervisor Toffanelli for helping to make that happen, which was awesome. A really cool thing happened, and that's something that the Calaveras Film Commission has worked with a gentleman by the name of Jeremy Maupin, and we had a couple of films done here, short films, on Calaveras. He's a filmmaker out of LA, and we've supported him, and he's coming back to do more films. But this past weekend, he was nominated for 4 Emmys, and he won for his film on Firefall in Yosemite. But it gives us a lot of credibility on the films that he's done here in Calaveras. And a shout out to CCTV, because it was through CCTV that he was able to apply to be part of this Northern California Emmy consideration. And he was just amazed because he is the underdog and he won. So it's fantastic. I'd also like to bring up to the board, I would love to talk about, and I'm sorry that CEO Hitchcock is ill today, food trucks. I'm having issues with food trucks in my community, and I would love to be able to bring it to the board to figure out what we can do about it.
Absolutely. I think that's common in each district, so Denise can discuss that with Teresa and come up with a plan.
I have been working with Lisa and Doug on it, and we've come up with some things that can prevent them, instead of just shooing them away. We're looking at we have the ability to confiscate their equipment and confiscate their food. So I've been working diligently with them for the last 3 or 4 weeks.
Okay.
And we're coming real close to bringing something, so.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. I wasn't aware of that, and I just, so you know, my district, we've had issues with, it's mainly rumors going on now, but what's gonna be happening in Arnold, and a lot of the brick and mortar are very concerned about it.
Yeah, well, we're same issues, so, but I have diligently been working, so.
Thank you.
Supervisor Andal?
On August 12th, I joined Supervisor Huberty for the Calaveras Mariposa Community Action Agency meeting. On August 19th, I attended the Calaveras County Arts Council Music in the Parks in Railroad Flat. On August 20th, we experienced the Loma Fire in Mountain Ranch, and I just wanted to recognize Central Calaveras Fire District and all the neighboring districts that were the first responders. And then shortly thereafter, CAL FIRE, Air Support, Heavy Equipment, Sheriff's Office. It was a great, strong initial attack that kept that fire contained to 19 acres, and we are very grateful for all that coordinated effort. Over the last few weeks, I have been in countless meetings with fire chiefs, fire staff, board members, association members. Yesterday, I met with members of the West Point Fire District and invited Julia here today. She was able to speak this morning in public comment. And I think that having these continued conversations are important. I want to thank the auditor, Greg Sessions, for his work in talking with districts and kind of that open, transparent dialogue moving forward. I remain committed to these conversations and the sharing of information and working to keep the financial health of districts and the county as a whole.
Supervisor Toffanelli?
Yeah, I have nothing to report.
Okay. I attended OCOC last week on the 19th. One of the main highlights was we did hear from the proponents and opponents on Prop 43, 45. There was no speakers on Prop 1 for all 3 propositions. At this time, no position was taken on OCOC. I believe the following day, CSAC had a presentation. I did not follow up on what position they ended up taking.
They were primarily the same, of no position.
Okay. The other highlight was, I think we've all seen in the news, was the governor's proposal for wildfire with PG&E. I think there's correlation letters going out from CSAC, RCRC, along with a number of other agencies up and down the state that represent local jurisdictions pushing back on the governor's recommendation on that. So that was another highlight of discussion. The other, on the 20th, I attended the Copper Library grand reopening of the Kids Zone, and it was really, it was really nice. They redid the entire side room of the Copper Library with a more kid-friendly, interactive area. They had story time, they had popcorn, balloons. Addie had a blast. It was a good time. And it's really great to see the library coming together down there to be more inclusive with the kids. And then next week, along with Supervisor Tuffanelli, we have COG. And that's all I have to report. And with that, we will adjourn. Thank you, everybody. No? With that, we will adjourn. And what do you have?
I just want to let you guys know the food truck item is on the agenda for strategic planning also on September 28th.
Okay, perfect. Okay, thank you. Okay, with that, we adjourn, and we will see everybody next month. Thank you for being here.